What totally makes a early morning, freezing early morning trip to the post office really nice. A little bit of mail from my buddy Bill over at Honest Open Permaculture, Hop Farms. Really excited about this. Alright, so our friend Bill from Hop Farms there, he started this whole collaboration and he wants to show everyone how to stratify pawpaw seeds and how to germinate them and get pawpaws back in circulation. So he sent out a lot of different seeds to a whole list of other channels, and I will put the list right here. It's quite extensive at this point in time. So he's hoping that all these people live in different parts of the country, so we could show different ways of how we're going to go ahead and get these seeds ready to try to sprout them come springtime. Now, despite the fact that it looks super sunny in here, because it actually is pretty sunny today, we are in Michigan. We're kind of in the thumb area. It is a very cold climate. Now, why exactly would I bring up the fact that we live in a cold climate? Well, that's because when it comes to stratifying pawpaw seeds, stratifying is basically the process of chill hours, kind of likened to that. So if you have a fruit tree, think of it this way. It has a certain requirement for chill hours before it'll produce fruit. Kind of with the same with seeds. Some seeds need a certain amount of cold before they will, you know, sprout and start to grow. We're walking right by my my previous pawpaws that I have. One I actually did start from a seed, and one I started from a seedling. So I have a little bit of experience with two different methods, starting seeds and doing a transplant, and I was pretty successful. I will put a link to the video of that, and you can check out my pawpaws that I currently have. But Bill sent us seeds. We're going to start a couple more pawpaw trees, and I'm excited about it because I really want these pawpaws. And there's some benefits to these pawpaws. One, they really like to grow in shade and to kind of be the understory, and that's what I got a lot of on this one side of my yard. And I have some fruit trees here that are not doing well, so I want to replace them, and I think this is the perfect seed tree to replace them with. Well, this is a back corner of my yard where I have a lot of cherry trees. A couple of them do okay. A lot of them have met their demise here. It's kind of the no man's land. Trees will do good for a couple years and then they just fade off slowly. So what I'm thinking is that it does get a lot of shade because overhead there is a black walnut tree, and on the other side of this black walnut tree is where I have my other two pawpaws. This is where I'm going to plant a couple of these seeds that Bill sent us. You see this baggie right here. So there's actually a lot of seeds in here. There's, I think it was 8 that I counted, possibly 9. So there's a lot of seed in here. I'm going to put a couple in the ground out here, and then we're going to do a couple other methods, and I'm going to show you those as we go. But our first method to try to stratify these, being that it is cold enough here and we have enough winter chill hours, I'm going to put these directly into the ground. And one reason you would want to do that, if you have the ability to do that, is that pawpaws, when they sprout, they grow a taproot. And it is a very long taproot. Think of a taproot as this. If this was the top of your seed, or your seed, this would be the taproot that it puts down, right? And that's before it really starts sprouting. Now, granted, this is a little larger than what the seed would do, but it's gonna put out a good 3 to 4 inch taproot before it ever starts doing anything out the top of the seed as a sprout. So we have to have enough room for a taproot, and that makes pawpaws sort of difficult to grow if you don't grow them naturally in the ground, is that transplanting has a lot of drawback when it comes to pawpaw trees. So back here I have some things that are growing. I got a lot of wild black raspberries that we kind of trim and push and move around all over. And like I said, these cherry trees, since they're not doing so well, I'm going to use this area to try to help with these pawpaw seeds. They like to grow as the understory. When they're young seeds, saplings, trees, they do not like to be in full sun as much as they do when they get older and more mature. So they usually start as an understory in a forest and kind of become the over canopy. So planting them out here, and we got some really nice rich soil because we've been putting leaves and cardboard and all sorts of stuff back here to try to grow the soil back here for some of these trees that already exist back here. try to put more nutrients back into the ground and just create a better growing environment. So this will be a perfect spot to put a couple of these pawpaws. Clear it out, put our dibble in. We're going about 3 inches deep. I don't know exactly what the recommendation is for seeds for these, but I'm going off of my intuition because sometimes that's just how I do it. See here, that is a pawpaw seed for you guys. It's a pretty oblong, weird looking seed. And I actually believe this one's flatter than what they normally are. Let's see if we can find another. So this one's a little bit fatter than that other one as far as width on the sides. See, that one's pretty flat. So we're gonna use this one, do that one for a different thing. For me, what I did is I got a couple of these plant stakes. You just kind of hold plants up as they get bigger. I'm gonna use this as my marker. Put it right next to this. I'm gonna put a tomato cage around this like I did my other pawpaws, just so I know exactly where it's at, in the centered, and I can keep an eye on whether or not it grows. Now, because I want to plant these as natural as possible, like a forest floor, I'm gonna make sure that I push all these leaves and wood chips and all the good stuff I have on the ground out here right back over top of that seed. And we're gonna sort of pretend like it fell from this tree, landed here, nestled into the ground, and it's just anticipating winter so that it can sprout and give us a glorious tree come springtime. All right, so we went ahead and put in our 2 pawpaw seeds out here. This is gonna be a good start for like a food forest type area. These are good background trees to have over here. Like I said, they like underbrush, so they'll grow up real nice in this area. Now I'm gonna show you a couple other different methods on how to stratify these seeds to get them to sprout in the spring. So another good way to try to stratify these seeds would be to put them in a pot. Now, a lot of people are gonna use like tree starts. It can be long, tall, skinny. I don't have any of those laying around. What I do have is this big old potter right here, and this will give me a lot of room for a taproot. I think it's, shoot, I don't know, almost a foot tall there. I'm gonna put the seed right at the top. I got it filled up right to the almost top with some dirt. So I'm gonna put some holes in here, and I'm gonna put seeds in this. And when I put them in here, my idea with this is that I'm gonna soak this soil down really good. Then I'm gonna put these in the garage. And my garage is not heated, so it will stay around the same temperature all year round, which is gonna be slightly warmer than it is outside. So it's funny, on second thought, I'm gonna actually put them right here in front of the greenhouse door. And I'm gonna leave them in these pots here. That way I can keep a better eye on them. I'm gonna come out here once a month probably, just put a little bit of water in there to make sure that soil stays moist in case it does, and you know, we don't get rain or snow or whatever. I want it to be sort of natural conditions, but more controlled than that it's in a pot. And then when I go to transplant this, you know, hopefully being in that big of a pot, it won't disturb the root base as much, because these are very, very hard to transplant. In fact, a lot of people lose these trees when they try to transplant them. That's why I started a couple out in the back there, because I want to make sure that I have the optimal condition for them. So these 2, I hope, will sprout and we'll be able to transplant them and not have any issues later on. Now, when it comes to the third way to cold stratify these seeds, is simply this. You have them in a bag with some soil, something real peat moss type thing. You want a real good soil in there, right? You're gonna moisten it down a little bit so it's a little bit wet. And then you're gonna take these and throw them in the fridge. And that is gonna keep them at the exact same temperature, which will be cold. You know, fridges, whatever you keep your fridge at, that's what they'll stay at. I guess some people might have a really cold fridge. Some people might not as much. I don't know. But these will go in my beer fridge with all my beers, and they'll stay the same temperature as my nice ice cold beer. So you can't go wrong with that, right? And when you put these in the fridge, or basically any kind of cold stratification for these, I believe it's really only 90 days, but usually, you know, 4 months is what we're gonna be sitting out here before we can do anything with these seeds in our climate. Today, the ground's not frozen, we can plant them. In 2 weeks from now, that ground's going to be rock solid. We won't be transplanting nothing. So those ones are going to start there, kind of the natural cycle. We have the pots that we started, and then we're going to have these that we cold stratify in the fridge. And when we pull them out in 4 months to go to plant them, they should have a taproot on them and possibly a tiny sprout. So what I'm going to do with these 4 seeds in here when I cold stratify them, and possibly the 2 that are in the pots, because I am running out of room here at the Citystead to put more trees, I am going to take them over to my parents' the backwoods farm. If you guys have seen some of those videos, put a playlist over here for you if you haven't. That's where the monolithic dome is. There's a lot of good property there, and my dad has told me I can do multiple things with that if I wanted. I can have whatever piece I want to plant things. So I am going to use this as a good opportunity to start something over there. 4 of these pawpaw seeds, possibly all 6, or possibly 6 of these. There's 2 that are going to be here because they're in the ground. But 6 of these most likely will end up over there. So we are going to go ahead and start our food forest over there. And these pawpaws will be the backbone of that, along with some mulberries that I'm going to propagate off of the mulberry trees that we currently have. And some other things I got in the works for. So that's where these were going to end up, and the other 2 possibly. So that should be pretty exciting to see how that works out. And these are pretty vigorous growers. They can grow almost 2 foot in a year. As evident by the ones I already have, they do take off if they're in the right conditions, and they really start thriving. Alright, so I gotta thank my friend Bill over at Hop Farms for inviting us to be part of this collaboration. It's an incredible opportunity. Pawpaw seeds are pretty hard to find still. There are a lot more sources for them. People are trying to bring the tree back, which is what Bill is trying to do. And he's got something interesting in that he's trying to grow it all throughout the entire U.S. from seeds that he collected on his North Carolina farm. So we're in Michigan. I know there's people out in the desert in Arizona doing this, Virginia, Florida. I think it's all over. It's all over the map. I will make sure to list all of these channels right here that are part of this collaboration into the description down below, so you can go check them out. And I will link the playlist to his stratifying pawpaw seeds video at the end of this video here. You'll see it. It'll be here or possibly right there. One or the other. The other link will be to my garlic farm that I'm starting. The whole playlist about that. If you haven't seen any of that, check it out. And we will see you guys in the next video.